world where lies are law, truth is rebellion. We don't bow, we don't break. We speak what they silence. Yes. So, this is the truth rebellion, which is the most important thing on the face of the earth, because there's nothing more important in the entire universe than truth, which is why this is the truth rebellion. Right now, as I've said before, we're going from audio episodes to video episodes, and we actually have completely switched over, but typically we put, just to start it off before I talk about everything else, we typically put the video episodes on YouTube and then just upload the audio episodes to Spotify. The reason being is because Spotify's upload matrix are not the greatest. For whatever reason it is, I don't know. But every time you try to upload video to Spotify, it's not that it doesn't work. You can get it done, but like, it is as slow as a slug. And not only is it slow as a slug, but on top of that, it's like maybe like 33% of the time, even half, it'll upload like 57, 66%, and then it'll just error out, and then you have to re-upload it. And sometimes you gotta re-upload it like 3-4 times before it ever works, and it's just so annoying, bro. It's so annoying. And then sometimes even when you use the audio, it tries to take forever to upload. I'm like, I don't understand what's going on here. So, and yes, and I've used Wi-Fi and everything else, but whatever. I just think that I need to get a new like a laptop or something. Like, I was looking at someone. They were telling me MacBooks are really good for all of that. But until then, probably I just upload the videos to YouTube, because YouTube never has a problem uploading. See, that's why I don't know why, like these other people can't get their stuff together. Like, come on, Spotify, get it together. Come on, Rumble, get it together on Rumble for whatever reason. If I have a video, and it did start off that way, I used to upload videos on there like 2 hours at a time. Upload it just fine and quickly too, like maybe 15 minutes. And now, like then it stopped uploading videos that were over an hour, and I was like, okay. Then it was stopped uploading videos over 30 minutes. Then it was over 10 minutes. Now, like, if it's over 10 minutes, it's just not going to upload, and I don't know what it is, bro. Changed all the settings. I've talked to Rumble. I've researched everything that there is to research about it. I've talked to customer service support. They gave me a free month of Rumble Premium because of the problem. I've done so much, and I changed the settings on it, and eventually when I changed the settings on it, it actually started to work for a little while, for like a few weeks, and then without changing the settings again, it just stopped doing it again. So whatever, I don't know. But YouTube never has that problem. Facebook never has that problem. Instagram never has that problem. Credit you could say off Facebook and Instagram that the reels are typically shorter, but that's not necessarily true, because I've put longer videos on there and it's never had that problem. YouTube never has that problem. I have never gotten an upload failure from YouTube using either data or Wi-Fi. It's just never happened. But so anyways, so for now, until probably I get like a MacBook or something, because I'll credit that maybe the probably processor speed has something to do with it, I will probably just put the video, do what I continue to do, which is all the video episodes will be on YouTube, and Spotify will have like audio episodes. But then eventually we'll switch to where the video episodes are everywhere all the time. Okay, so with all that being said, today is just a specific audio episode, and that's because of a variety of issues and blah 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 blah. So It is what it is. But the point is that there is so much going on in the world right now, bro. Like, it is absolutely crazy. There is so much going on. Trump just took out the president of Venezuela, which is incredible. Thank God that he has taken out the president of Venezuela. We've been saying that for a while. I've said my whole life, really. I've said for years now, ever since I was like a little kid. I was like, why don't we go down into Mexico, to Latin America? I used to say, why don't we go down to Mexico? Why don't we just get rid of the drug cartel? We'll just take the whole thing over if we have to. It is what it is. And people tell me, Josh, you can't do that. Plus, it's so much more than that. You got to think about Colombia, Venezuela. I said, okay, why don't we go into Venezuela and Colombia and take out those people too? Like, makes sense to me. I don't see the problem. And finally, after all this time, we have a president who is doing exactly what I said that I would do if I was president. I was always a fan of tariffs too. I never understood. I would always look at tariffs. Because these politicians, they'll like gaslight you, bro. They will like literally gaslight you. Like, you'll have a great idea, a good idea, or maybe even what you call like a common sense idea. Like, it just seems like it makes sense. Like, you can't understand why somebody wouldn't do it. Why would they not do it? It doesn't make any sense. And then they'll gaslight you, and they'll try to, and I've talked about this before, they use their political lingo, and they use these big, giant, fancy words and terms and blah, 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 that are 15 syllables long. Nobody really knows what they're talking about, and they themselves don't even know half the words that they're using. They just picked them up from somebody else that was talking to them in a debate and tried to make it look like they were smarter than them and used it, and now they try to Google it, and now they use it, and, it creates this whole dichotomy of, like, blah, 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 you know what I mean? To try to convince people, to gaslight them into thinking that they're idiots and they don't know what they're talking about. So people will be like, oh, well, yeah, because I would talk about tariffs all the time, I don't understand. I used to talk about tariffs all the time. I don't understand why we don't have tariffs. It doesn't make any sense. It seems like to me, and not just seems like, I know for a fact that would just help the U.S. economy. I don't understand why we don't do it. I used to say this all the time, long before Trump came around, and people would gaslight you. You know what I mean? Well, you just don't understand the complexities of micro and macroeconomics. You just really don't get it. It's really not that simple. You got to do this, you got to do that, blah, 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 blah. And then Donald Trump comes around and he starts talking about tariffs. And I said, no, see, this is what I'm talking about. Like, Trump is correct on this, okay? This is exactly what I'm talking about. And then they try to gaslight him. Well, blah, 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 blah. And really, whether they're gaslighting and projecting or whether they're just that stupid, I do not know. But what I do know is that they're wrong. I do know that they've always been wrong, and maybe their brain just doesn't have the capabilities. Maybe their brain just doesn't work that way. Maybe their IQ just is not high enough to be able to look at something like that, a mathematical equation, and say that 2 plus 2 equals 4. Obviously, charging other countries to be able to bring their products here as an essential tax on the entire world would probably cause us to make more income. It's called being a businessman. That's what businesses do. I don't know. Makes sense to me, always has, but I'm not stupid. Obviously, Trump and my theory has been proven to be correct because it's working quite lavishly, isn't it? Bunch of idiots. Okay, anyways, so we got the Venezuelan president. Thank God this fool has been taken care of. What we witnessed from Donald Trump about Venezuela is the most powerful and most beautiful display of the United States American military in the history of the entire United States. And really, what I'm going to say is that actually I think maybe it's the greatest display of military might in the history of the world, not just the United States. I don't think there has ever been a country in the history of this planet, correct me if I'm wrong, but I'm pretty sure I have never seen, there has never been a country that is so powerful, so politically powerful, so militarily powerful, so economically powerful, that they can walk into a country, just any country they want, and in 24 hours they can kidnap the president of that country and take control of the whole thing and say, okay, now we own you now. There's no country in the world has the capability of doing that, except the United States of America. No country in the history of the world has the capability of doing that. That was ruthless governmental military execution. Authority of power is beautiful, absolutely gorgeous to watch. I mean, I think the world is still sort of in shock and awe, like, what? We didn't know that you could just go in there and do that, like, what is that? And actually, honestly, I sort of kind of predicted it. I'm not going to lie, I sort of did. I didn't predict that it would go down like that. I wasn't sure how they were going to do it, but I knew something was going to go down because I actually put on Twitter, I remember, someone was on there and they were talking about, oh, well, there will be absolutely no boots on the ground in Venezuela because blah, blah, blah. And I told them, you're delusional, bro. What's actually going to happen is that we're going to interact militarily with Venezuela in some way, shape, or form. That's what's going to happen. And they looked at me and they were like, no, you don't understand. You're just a... And, you know, they tried to grandstand me or something. They started calling me like an idiot. They started saying I didn't care about veterans or whatever. Like, I don't know what they were talking about. They're like, oh, your problem is that you cry for war because you don't understand war and all that. I'm like, no, my problem is that I'm not a coward. And I live in the real world. And the military is a thing of life, and they exist there for a reason, and you got to do what you got to do, and you got to do it, and that's how America's America, okay? And I told them, and I even said, if you go back and look, I said, most likely not by fully army invasions, though. What it's probably going to be is that you're going to definitely have boots on the ground, but they're probably going to be like black ops, spec ops teams that you never heard of, in and out real quick, do something really quick in a matter of weeks, some kind of thing you never hear of. And I was right. To a degree, I was correct. Because obviously, because I know way too much about how that world works not to know exactly how that's going to go down, bro. Like, that's just the way it works. That's how you do something like that. I did not know that they would just kidnap the president and take him hostage and bring him to the United States of America. I was a little surprised by that one. Because I've never seen anybody do that before. Not that it can't be done. Because I used to think to myself, why don't they? But, but you just never seen it done, so that's like the farthest, you don't think it'll go that far, right? So just the farthest thing from your mind. And I thought maybe it would take over a process of weeks. I don't think it would take very long, honestly. I think I even said that in that social media post. I think I gave it a few weeks. It wouldn't take that long. But they did it in less than 24 hours. Crazy stuff, bro. Absolutely crazy stuff. And what's so cool about that, right, is like Pete Hegseth was saying, Department of War, like Marco Rubio was saying, FAFO, bro. You just F around and you find out. Okay? You want to play with this president. You want to play with the United States of America. You want to act like Donald Trump doesn't mean what he says when he says it. Trump isn't like other presidents. If I say I'm going to do it, I'm going to do it. That's the way that Donald Trump works. The awesome thing about that is America, and we'll say what it is that America is America once again. That is the greatest military operation in the history of the entire world. I don't think that any power in history has ever been to exercise its will to the point where it can tell you where it's going to go, when it's going to be there, how it's going to do it, and still walk right into your country, go right into your palace, kill all your men, kidnap you and put you in zip ties and then drag you out kicking and screaming and then take you to their country as a president, quote unquote, and then have you tried for crimes in their own court system. Like, nobody else has the power to do that, ever in the history of the world. And that just showed the world, this isn't the Biden Afghanistan bundle. Okay? What message that Trump just sent to the world is, oh yeah, by the way, we are America. We are America the Great. We are America the Powerful. There's a reason why the world fears us. There's a reason that we have the #1 economy, the #1 political spectrum on the planet. There's a reason why the UN decides to host their group therapy sessions in New York City. There's a reason why the entire world tries to interact with our economy. There's a reason why when we tell Panama that you're not going to be giving that Panama Canal to China no more, that they shut up and do what they get told. There's a reason why when Europe is in trouble, they come asking us for help. There's a reason why the Ukraine wants us to be involved in the war. There's a reason why Taiwan looks to us and cheers for America. There's a reason why the Middle East wants us to always be involved. There's a reason why it's always America, America, America. Why we can sanction other people, but nobody can sanction us. Why we have the most impressive economy. Why we have the most spending for military. Why we have the most political power in the entire world. And that's because we are the United States of America, and we are a superpower. And what Donald Trump just did was he proved to the entire world, just for further proof of that, you do realize that Russia is not capable of doing the same thing that the United States of America just did in Venezuela, right? Russia doesn't have the power. They don't have that ability to do it. And the proof of that is the fact that they've been in a war with the Ukraine for the last 4 or 5 years. Because Vladimir Putin and his Spetsnaz, those aren't two shabby people, right? Like Russia. Like, that's not a shabby country, right? Probably, and not probably, most definitely, top 3 power in the entire world, people. Okay, Russia and the Spetsnaz are militarily probably superior to every other country on the face of the earth besides the United States of America and possibly China, right? That's about it. It's United States, Russia, China, right? Or United States, China, Russia, whichever way, it doesn't matter. So, but Russia. So I want you to think about that for a minute. Russia, a top 3 power in the world, right? An economical powerhouse, a cultural powerhouse, a military powerhouse with rich, extensive history that lasts for millennia, right? Russia, who I think we have more nukes than them. People say they have the most. I don't believe that. I think that the United States of America has the most nukes, 100% by far, and they just create these false narratives because it's like a pride. It's like a measuring contest, right? It's like just people screaming and shouting at each other. I'm better. You know what I mean? It's just really, it doesn't matter. And of course, you get into the argument where some people go, it doesn't really matter which one has the most nukes, does it? Because both of them have so many. Yeah, but as a measuring contest, they like to pretend that they have more. But the truth is that I really do believe that the United States of America has a lot more nukes. Like maybe even as twice as many as Russia does. And people will say, oh, the official numbers. Okay, listen to me. Stop doing that. Okay, stop believing official numbers. Okay, why on earth do you believe that why the governmental powers of the world would ever tell you their official nuclear numbers makes absolutely no sense to me at all whatsoever, not to mention everything else that they have as well. Okay, just stop it. Okay, anyways. But Russia, top 3 power. China, top 3 power. Russia and Vladimir Putin, incapable of going into the Ukraine and doing the same thing to Vladimir Zelensky that Donald Trump just did to Maduro in Venezuela. He's incapable of it. Just point blank and range. He does not have the ability to do it. And the last 5 years in the Ukrainian war is absolute proof of that, right? It's solid, solidified proof. Because Vladimir Putin, I don't know if you noticed this or not, but Vladimir Putin, he really doesn't care what people think, right? Vladimir Putin's not what I would call a soft-spoken individual. He's not somebody that tries to go at it his way, not to confront people, not to take the harshest route, and tries to comfort and console people and take easy ways out. He's not really a guy that's looking for peace, right? I mean, Russia never really has been that way. Historically, Russia has always been bulky, big, brutal. That's just the way that they are. All of their wars, they've always been brutal people. They've always been, and I don't say that as an insult, really. I say it because it's just if you understand geopolitical history and the way militaries work, it's just a fact. They've always been very brutal. They've always been very, if you study militaries and strategies, they've always been very brute, overwhelming force. That's the way that Russia works. Slow but surely, right? Like they just move like a big, overwhelming block of force that just kind of like a steamroller, like laying out concrete for a road. It moves slow, but it moves powerful, and it moves fast, and it lays it down, and eventually, and nothing can really stop it, and then by the time it gets to where it's going, it wins, right? That's typically how Russia works. Now, Vladimir Putin is no different. It's the same way. It's a strategy for the Ukraine. I mean, that's what they're attempting to do on the Ukraine right now. So the Russian people, and Vladimir Putin especially, have never been fearful of confrontation. They've never been afraid. They've never run from confrontation. They will always take the most confronting option out, unless, for some reason, it interferes with someone like the United States or Russia, or not Russia, or China, because they don't want that smoke, right? That's what it is essentially. So the point is, if Vladimir Putin had the ability, with the temperament and the thought process and the audacity of Vladimir Putin, if Vladimir Putin had the ability to go into the Ukraine and kidnap Vladimir Zelensky and end the Ukrainian war tomorrow, he would absolutely 10 out of 10 times do that, broski. He would not think about it twice, right? But the point is that he just can't do it. He just can't do it. And it's not like the Ukraine is like some big, powerful country or something, right? The Ukraine is not China. The Ukraine is not France. The Ukraine is not much more impressive than Venezuela. I would say that probably the Ukraine and Venezuela are about at the same level, aren't they? Venezuela's not a sneezy country. It's not a country you smack at. See, that's what's so interesting about it, right? Like, Venezuela's not, they're not Ethiopia. Yeah. They're not South Sudan or something. Like, Venezuela has a lot of resources. They are a powerful country, right? They have some of the biggest oil reserves in the entire world. And at one point, when they were a capitalist country, their economy was like a top 5 economy in the entire world. Top 5, top 10, somewhere around there. It's a powerful country. So, and considered big and powerful by the metrics of every other country in the world, right? If you're not looking at the big 3, and then Europe, and you're looking at those other 100 nations, Venezuela is considered a top dog amongst those people, right? And we just walk in there, and we just kidnap the guy in the middle of the night and say, no, by the way, you're not the president of Venezuela. We're going to put you on trial now in our court system just because we feel like it, because we can. And we're going to take over the whole country in 48 hours. We now own Venezuela, and we'll run Venezuela any way that we see fit until we decide that we don't feel like doing it anymore. So how about that one? And that is the most powerful example of exercised military, political, economical power ever in the history of the entire world. Nobody has ever had the ability to do that, ever, to any country, especially not a country that's considered a powerful country, right? A country that's in the top 25% of most powerful countries in the world, for sure. And the Ukraine is about at that same level. I would say that they probably are around the same size, probably around the same political, social, economical status. They both have world-renowned resources, right? Venezuela with the oil, the Ukraine with their farmland. There's not a big, giant difference between the two of those, but the difference is that Vladimir Putin can't go into the Ukraine and kidnap Zelensky, because if he could, he would have done it. It's been 5 years. It's been a slow, methodical process. If he could have done that, if he could have just in 48 hours, okay, the Ukraine now belongs to me, he would have done it, but he can't do it. Right? He can't do it. And the whole world, up until about 72 hours ago, thought that nobody in the world had the capability or the power of doing something so swiftly, so cleanly, so smoothly. And China can't do it, because people like to talk about China. China can't do it, because if China could do it, they would have already done that to Taiwan. How come China hasn't done that to Taiwan and claimed all those semiconductors down there? Because they can't do it. That's why. But we, the United States of America, so even though you have the big three, right, you have top 15 militaries in the world. Actually, you know what? Let me just go ahead and look this up, bro. I'm going to look up top 15 most powerful militaries in the world. Or should I do top 10? Okay, we'll just do top 15. Okay. Okay, let's look at this. Number 15. Top 15 militaries in the world, right? Number 15 is Israel. No surprise there. Israel has some of the greatest technology in the world. Really, they're the people that give us all the innovations for all of our American technology. The Israelis, the Jews, are by far on the cutting edge ahead of everyone else in the entire world when it comes to military technology, have been for a long time and continue to be. Okay. Number 14 is Germany, right? Number 13 is Indonesia. Some of these names might actually surprise you if you don't understand geopolitical launchers. Number 12 is Pakistan. Number 11 is Brazil. Number 10 is Italy. Number 9 is Turkey, Erdogan. Number 8 is Japan, despite World War II. Number 7 is France. Number 6 is the UK. Number 5 is South Korea. Number 4 is India. And then there's a big, giant gap here, right? That's your number 15 through number 4 most powerful militaries in the world. And then you have this big, giant gap. And then you get to number 3. The official numbers say Russia, right? And then there's this big, giant gap again, and you get to number 2, and then that's China. And then there's this big, giant gap again, and actually, this gap is so big that if you combine the gap from India to Russia and from Russia to China together, the gap is slightly bigger than that, and then you get the United States of America. That's the reason why Vladimir Putin cannot go into the Ukraine and kidnap Vladimir Zelensky, no matter how much he wants to. He doesn't even think about doing it because he can't do it. That's why China has never attempted to do anything like that on Taiwan and take all those semiconductors, which would essentially make the entire world completely dependent on them technologically. You understand that if they wanted, if they had the power to do it, they would have already done it. But they don't, because they don't have the power to do it. The United States of America just proved to the world that it has the ability to do that. And do it, I might add, on not a shabby country. And people say, well, Venezuela, a shabby country. No, it's really not. Well, socialism, bottom 100 economy. Okay, no. Hold on a minute. Okay, before socialism and communism was introduced into Venezuela, they were a top 10 economy in the world. I think they're like number 6, number 7, something like that. They have some of the biggest oil reserves in the entire world. They were thriving. They were a first world wealthy, rich country. Okay, socialism came in there and destroyed the entire economy, and they went down the top, bottom 100, whatever. But they're not shabby. It's just that all the oil started going directly to the palace. So really, that makes it even more impressive because all that oil was backing up the personal security in the palace and everything, and they still couldn't stop the United States from walking right in there and kidnapping and putting them in zip ties and saying, "Now you're coming with us." You ever heard from pit to the palace, like Joseph overnight in the Bible, from pit to palace? Well, guess what? It works the opposite way too. So now you got from palace to pit. All right. And that's what happened in Venezuela. It is a celebration of the Venezuelan people. Thank God Maduro has fallen. Thank God socialism has fallen in Venezuela. Actually, we said that it would. We have absolute evidence that we said it would fall, and we said it would fall in Cuba. I've said on record multiple times that communism will fall in Venezuela, it'll fall in Cuba, it'll fall in North Korea, and I mentioned many places. Now it's fallen in Venezuela. Now they're talking about Cuba. I'm just right. Okay? You think I just... How many times do you have to be right before the world realizes that you're just right? You're calling it before everybody else. And I promise you this, it's not going to stop here. It's hitting Latin America right now, but it's not going to stop. North Korea. Communism is going to fall in North Korea. Communism is being judged throughout the world right now. It's pretty crazy. And it's beautiful. Thank God. Freedom, let freedom reign. And Iran. And we've talked about that too. We've been saying that for years. That Ayatollah, man, they're going down, bro. There's nothing you can do about it. And what a time to be alive, right? I mean, this is amazing. This is incredible. So, with that pure execution of straight power, we now have seen that America is officially flexed on the entire world of all time as the most impressive military might in the entire world. What Donald Trump just did was he essentially showed the entire world FOFA. That's exactly what he did. Just like Pete Hegseth says, just like what Pete Hegseth and the Department of War say all over on Pete Hegseth and the Department of War, just like he said all over the place, FOFA, F around and find out. Just like the White House officially put the meme for FOFA on the White House official Twitter page, where he shared a picture of himself with a big giant FOFA. F around and find out. Come at me, bro. See what's going to happen if you try to come at me. I will take you out, son. And that's what Donald Trump just showed. So we're going into the realm of liars versus lions, right? This is the realm of lions versus liars. The liars are done. We've had enough of them. We're sick of them. Okay, we're kings, so right? We're lions, and we've had enough of the completely unimpressive, cowardly fools of the world that run around and say, "I'm so big bad, you try to fight me, I'll take you," blah, blah, blah. They try to be like a bunch of gangsters, but they're really a bunch of thugs. They're a bunch of low-life, low-level bums, right? They're a bunch of They're a bunch of what's the word? Lackeys. That's what they are. They're lackeys. They're unimpressive lackeys who do whatever they get told. But you want to mess with a G, right? You want to mess with an OG. You want to mess with Don Corleone, bruh. I swear the top it isn't lonely, bruh. Everybody acting like they know me, bruh. You want to mess with Don Corleone, the G, the Don, D-O-N, quite literally. You want to mess with the G that is Donald Trump. And then he was going to Don Corleone you, bruh. And now you're reminded really quick overnight, who really is the big fish in this scenario? And who really is a tiny little nothing? Sometimes the lion has to eat them to remind the fool why he's the lion and why he's the king and why they're all a bunch of fools, and there's a reason that they keep doing what he tells them to do, right? And that's where we are. And that's the age that we've entered into. That was a warning shot for the rest of the world, by the way. Now Donald Trump is talking about Colombia. Donald Trump said about the Colombian president, he said he better watch his backside. He keeps on talking like that, we might have some problems. So we're talking about Colombia. We're talking about Cuba. Donald Trump just went all over the place and said, yeah, Cuba's about to fall. Cuba's getting ready to fall. All of their money was coming from Venezuela. All that oil from Venezuela is what was promoting Cuba. And now they don't got any money anymore because we took over Venezuela. So Cuba's about to fall. Yeah, you know, they had Fidel Castro, and he's dead, and then he gave it over to his brother, and then his brother gave it over to this new guy. Yeah, and they're all gonna die. Like that's all done with. There's gonna be no communism in Cuba anymore. That's over with. So Colombia's going down, Cuba's going down, and they asked him in an interview. Look at this, bro. They asked Donald Trump. They said, "So what do you think about the Colombian president who's talking so much about now everything that's happened with Maduro in Venezuela and da 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 da?" And they said, "Are you open to having the same thing happen?" They said, "Are you open?" In the interview, they said, "Are you open to having the same thing happen after Maduro?" Well, you know, it was an interview on Air Force One, and they asked him about Gustavo Petro from the president of Colombia. And then he said, and I quote, "Colombia is very sick too, run by a sick man who likes making cocaine and selling it to the United States, and he's not going to be doing it for very long." And then they asked him, they said, "What about the U.S. military? Would you go after Petro the same way they went after Maduro? Would you do the same thing?" And then he literally said, "Sounds good to me." So he just threatened that he's going to take out Colombia as well. Cuba's going to fall. And now, you know, Mexico, if I was the president of Mexico, if I was that stupid woman down there in Mexico, I would probably just keep my mouth shut right now, right? Like, this would not be the time for me to be trying to talk or flex or agitate the lion anymore, right? I probably wouldn't be trying to wake up the sleeping giant, right? I would probably just shut my mouth. But she's not very smart, so she continues to talk. She is, she's corrupt as hell, actually. Essentially, she is corrupt as hell, is what she is. And literally, as hell. Because really, I don't know if you know this or not, a lot of people don't know this. If you're not Mexican, or you're not from Mexico, you're not a Mexican citizen, or you don't pay attention to Mexican politics, because you're not Mexican ethnically, and maybe so you don't really pay attention to Mexican politics. But the last 3 presidents of Mexico have all outspokenly supported the drug cartel. Okay, all 3 of them. And I used to say all the time, man, you know that those presidents of Mexico are corrupt, because there's no way that you know, the stuff they got going on down there, my goodness gracious. They had like 70 mayors that were murdered in Mexico last year. Like within a matter of a couple months. 70 different mayors murdered by the drug cartel. The drug cartel walks into the middle of Mexico City and just pulls the mayor out and executes him in the street. Execution stops crazy. It's like Ghost Recon Wildlands down there. It's no, you never played that game before. You don't know. Just go ahead and play it, bro. And that'll show you a non-over-exaggerated version of what those narco states are really like down there, bro. And so It's just chaos. It's the wild, wild west down there, broski. And that's why the interesting thing with Maduro is they said, well, the thing about Maduro is he's not really the president of Venezuela. Never really was, because what he is, actually, is that he's just like a gangster. That's all he is. I mean, he's basically just the kingpin of the drug cartel in Venezuela, and he just kind of came in and did a hostile takeover and took over the country. That's really what he is, essentially. His economy, his trade is like drugs. That's what it is. He's a kingpin. He's not really the president at all. It never was. He stole it from somebody else. Then they had true and fair elections, or they were supposed to have true and fair elections, and that woman won. That's the woman that won the Nobel Peace Prize, right? The one that gave it to Donald Trump. A lot of people don't know who she is. She deserved the Nobel Peace Prize, right? She did. She absolutely did. Even though Trump also deserves a Nobel Peace Prize and has for almost a decade now, because he's essentially done so much it's ridiculous. But with that being said, interestingly enough, it's not like they gave it to someone that didn't deserve it. Like, she actually is worthy of a Nobel Peace Prize. That would be Maria Corina Machado, right? She, if you don't know who that is, a lot of people don't know. If you don't understand geopolitical things, you only look at the backyard, maybe you don't know who it is. But who she is that she was the political opposition in Venezuela that ran against Maduro for president of the United States of Venezuela not too long ago, and she won that race. She won the race. And she proved it. We know that she won because she had to flee the country, obviously. It was in 2023. Machado won the opposition primary to become the unity candidate for the 2024 presidential election. And then she was barred from running in the 2024 presidential election because she was disqualified from holding public office for 15 years on administrative and fiscal violations dated back to her time as legislator. So basically, it's just a bunch of bull, right? They did the same thing to her that they did to Donald Trump here in 2020. That's exactly what it is, okay? And she had to go into hiding because of fears for her life and freedom under the Maduro government, so on and so forth. She actually won the presidential race, by the way, because they actually, when they snuck out of Venezuela, she stole, her and her team went into the actual ballots and found the proof of the receipts of the voting systems and proved that she won the presidential race. Has it on paper that they, and brought the receipts to everyone. Has the papers, the ballots themselves. We won the race, okay? She left, and then she was awarded the Nobel Peace Prize, rightfully so, she should have been. Smartly enough, she dedicated that to President Donald Trump in honor. Seems to be very smart, right? Because now it's all come full circle, and Donald Trump has removed the person that caused her to run from her country, Maduro, from power. So it's kind of hilarious, isn't it? It's kind of funny, really. And actually, since we're talking about running Venezuela, and Donald Trump's talking about, well, we're going to be in charge of Venezuela until we find another leader to take over, I would not be surprised, nor would I be opposed to, probably actually I would advocate for Mrs. Maria Corina Machado to be the next leader of Venezuela. Because she's done more to fight for freedom in Venezuela than probably anybody else in the history of Venezuela, right? She showed nothing but absolute courage and courageousness, and was fearless to go toe-to-toe with these crazy dictator regimes, and won a Nobel Peace Prize for it, and proves that she's authentically, transparently serious, doesn't buy into that globalistic New World Order tripe by dedicating that Nobel Peace Prize to Donald Trump, right? And she actually won the last Venezuelan presidential election. So, to me, it just makes sense. That's who I would put in charge of Venezuela if I was Donald Trump, that's what I would do. I would not be surprised if it goes down that way. I think probably it should. It makes a lot of sense if it does. Now, the thing with that as well, right? The last three, like I said, the last three presidents of Mexico have all been very outspokenly in support of the drug cartel. Actually go out of their way to say they support the drug cartel. We love the drug cartel. What do you mean? Especially the last one, especially the one they got now, this crazy woman. She literally says out of her mouth that criticizing the drug cartel is an act of racism and it's an act of war. She said that Donald Trump criticizing the drug cartels in Mexico is an act of war against the state of Mexico, against the nation of Mexico, and against the people of Mexico and the military of Mexico. What are you talking about? So how to actively say that you're bought out by the drug cartel without actively saying you're bought out by the drug cartel? Like, come on, man. What does that even mean? An act of war against the Mexican people. Yeah, okay. If you are completely bought off by the drug cartel, then yeah, I'm sure it is. I'm sure it is an act of war against the Mexican people. If Mexican and drug cartels are interchangeable with each other, then I guess it would be an act of war against the Mexican people, yeah. Too bad they're not. Right? No matter how much the Democrat Party wants them to be, they are not, right, interchangeable with one another. In fact, I would say the majority of Mexican people, like the majority of Venezuelans, like the majority of Colombians, like the majority of Cubans, are very opposed to the drug cartels and all of the nonsense that has come out from them, right? And actually, so it continues to get more and more interesting. I actually did a couple of polls on Twitter. And it's interesting how some of these votes came in. Like, I did a couple of polls on Twitter, and I did a poll where I said, who's next? Like, who are we going to arrest next, right? Domestic terrorist time. Who are we going to arrest next? Who in the United States of America is next? And the options were Mummy Dummy, that Islamic clown in New York City. And then option number 2 would be Clinton's, the Clinton clowns. And then option number 3 was the Biden crime family. And option number 4 was Barack Hussein Obama, the Muslim. And actually, the results of that poll actually kind of surprised me, because the winner, as voted by the people, was the Clinton clowns. They actually won more from the poll that I ran. More people wanted to see the Clintons arrested than any other group of people. Isn't that interesting? The official numbers are that Mummy Dummy from NYC, he only got 4%. I was surprised by that too. Only 4% of people want to see the guy get arrested. That's crazy. But really, actually, maybe I'm not surprised by that. Only because, not because he's an atrocious blight on the entire history of New York City and American politics as a whole forever in the history of the United States of America, history of the nation, ever. But just because he's just been around for like 5 minutes and the rest of them have been around for a long time, so people probably want to take them out first, right? That's really what the reason is, probably. And you have the Clinton clowns. They got 42% of the vote. They just barely beat out Barack Hussein Obama. I was surprised by that too. I thought that Obama would probably be the winner of that poll. But the Clintons, and he was leading the poll almost the entire time. He was ahead the whole time. And then, Biden got 19%, Obama got 35%. Obama was leading the poll the whole time. I thought he was going to win. And then right at the end, they were actually tied for a long time. They were tied for like almost the final few hours. And then right there at the end, some votes shifted. and said that the Clintons. So whatever. I don't know. Okay. I mean, whatever. I want to see the Clintons arrested as well. I probably would have voted for Obama though. To be arrested. Yeah. And then I don't like mummy dummy. Yeah, you got to get the Clinton clowns too, of course. You know, I mean, really, you just got to get all of them. You got to arrest them all, right? You just got to arrest them. And then I ran another poll. Well, because when I ran that poll, I had a bunch of like people from other countries coming in there, and they were saying, "Well, you need to put this person up and this person up," because I was thinking more of like domestic terrorists, like who's the next domestic terrorist that we're going to arrest, right? And then they say, "Well, no, you got to put what's his name, Tinubu in there." This guy from Africa said, "You got to put Tinubu in there, please." And I was like, "Huh, yeah, it's a foreign. I guess I'll look into that." And then someone else came in there and they said, "What about this one? And what about?" So I was like, "Okay." So then I made another poll, and I said, while we're on the poll for domestic terrorists, now which foreign leader is next to be arrested? And the choices were the president of Iran, the Alatoya, Tinubu from Nigeria, president of Nigeria because of the killing of all the Christians out there, Gustavo Petro from Colombia, and then I threw Vladimir Putin in there because I thought that it would be kind of funny and bold to say, why don't we just go ahead and take out Vladimir Putin while we're at it, right? And the official results of that, Tinubu won by like a majority, right? And some people came in there and said, "Why? Oh, it's a shame you didn't put Ursula von der Leyen on there." If you don't know, that's the president of the European Union, so that makes sense. What a missed opportunity. Tinubu, though, he won overwhelmingly. He got 50% of the vote, which is interesting to me. Vladimir Putin was last, 12%. Right? A lot of people don't want to go to war with Putin. Okay, you see where they're coming from. Gustavo Petro from Colombia, he was second to last. He got 14%, interestingly enough. And then the president of Iran, he got 24%, but the president of Nigeria, Tinubu, he got 50%, literally. The other 50% was split between those three. He got half the vote. Half the people that voted in the poll said, arrest the president of Nigeria next for the way that they're treating Christians over in Nigeria. So I thought that was really interesting, right? So they want the number one domestic terrorist to be arrested to be the Clintons, interestingly enough. And the number one foreign terrorist to be the president of Nigeria, interestingly enough. Now, I don't have a problem with that. I say arrest all of them, honestly. And the thing is, Donald Trump reminded the world who we are again, right? Greatest president of my lifetime, for sure, by a lot. I have stood and will stand with Trump every single step of the way. Been here since 2015, haven't wavered once. Everybody hate on me. And it's really an interesting dichotomy here. Some of the interesting things, too, that a lot of people aren't really thinking about when it comes to Venezuela. There's some other things here, right? I mean, America is officially back. After this beautiful display of our American military might, America is officially recognized as America the Great once again. We are so back. We are the number one world superpower, the only superpower in the entire world, Russia. That's why you can't do that to Vladimir Zelensky. We're the only superpower in the entire world, China. That's why you can't do that to Taiwan. Only we can do that because we, the United States of America, are the only superpower in the entire world. Now, thank God for Donald Trump, who is literally the first embodiment of everything I said I would do as president. I thank God that he's showing everybody the policies actually work instead of the endless debates and talking and blah, 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 blah. You just got to do it and let the results speak for themselves. Tariffs, trade, etc. And it's so beautiful to watch. Thank you, Donald Trump. We've needed to clean the South Side for a long time now. And America is officially back. We're talking about Cuba and Colombia now. We're just going to have to liberate all of Latin America. As long as we finally get rid of the cartels, let's do it. Finally, everything I said I would do as president is being done. No other military in the world could have done what we just did to Venezuela. We are the only superpower in the world. We are recognized by the world once again as the one world superpower. Trump has reminded human history and civilization who America actually is. Screw the UN, the United Nations, blah, 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 blah. We are the USA. And we are the superpower. Not even the UN can match our flawless military execution. We do not submit to you. You submit to us. Now start playing ball with the United States or get pulverized. And that's really the message, isn't it? Now with that impressive military might demonstrated by us, the USA, we have reminded the world who is in charge. No other military in the world is capable of exercising pure control and will amongst the world. We are America the Great, and we would love to be a force for justice, righteousness, and good, but F around and find out. You can play or we can go through you. It doesn't really matter to me. That's our message to the world. America is a sovereign nation. We don't need the UN or anyone else to approve of our military operations anywhere in the world at any time. God bless the USA. The New World Order are the small dogs on this global stage, and they will be reminded of that. America is first. The New World Order, globalist so-called elites are a bunch of clowns, okay? And they will face the shame and humiliation that they so desperately deserve, along with any quote-unquote useful idiots that have been treasonous and tried to help them perpetuate their New World Order lies. Thank you, Donald Trump, President of the United States. Mission accomplished. You have officially made America great again. MAGA is fulfilled. From this day forward, now the new mission will be to push her into new victories, new limits beyond what human civilization ever thought humanly possible. Think about this for a second. The Democrats are so little, they care so little about the Venezuelan people and Latin Americans and Hispanics that they are actively trying to hide the celebrations of the Venezuelan people. Imagine that. Trying to suppress the voice of the people. Venezuela screams today, free at last, free at last. Thank God Almighty that we're free at last. And they think, how dare they be free if it makes Trump look like a freedom president. That is absolutely insanity. That is absolutely sickening. It's psychopathic. It's sadistic. It's satanic. It's demonic. And honestly, we probably would have been better off if January 6th actually was an insurrection. But thank God that Trump has come full circle, though. That's and that's all God really, because America, the people, the Republicans, they sure did not do it. They sure didn't do it. I wish it had actually been a real insurrection, because the 2020 election was stolen, and now it's time for all of that to come out to Israel. But it wasn't. It was a false flag FBI event. Pretty crazy. The insane thing, though, was I was actually almost there that day. Thank God I didn't go, because thank God I didn't have to spend the last 4 years of my life inside of the gulag. for being a righteous, just American, patriotic citizen. No. These criminals need to be gulagged. Now, interestingly enough, and some other elements about this whole Venezuelan thing that a lot of people are not looking at is a couple of things. Number one is that, do you realize that the Dominion voting machines that were used in the 2020 presidential election, interesting word there, right? You have the word Dominion, which is an interesting word. If you're a Christian especially, the word Dominion is a very interesting word because God gave Adam dominion over the earth, and the third level of that anointing will be the Dominion anointing, the anointing for Dominion, which means to take authority over the devil, right? You have dominion over the devil. So it's very interesting that the voting machines are called Dominion voting machines. That's not a coincidence. And it has to do with taking dominion over an entire country, right? Now, the interesting thing about that is, a lot of people don't know this, but Dominion voting machines, I'm sure they've heard the name, that tried to sue the crap out of Mike Lindell, tried to sue, who's also running for governor of Minnesota now, if you don't know. And they tried to sue the crap out of Donald Trump and Rudy Giuliani, who was pardoned by Trump, and so on and so forth. Dominion voting machines are actually ran out of Venezuela. A lot of people don't know that. They've been run out of Venezuela for years, since like going all the way back, I think like 2008 or something. They've been run out of Venezuela. In fact, quite literally, the Dominion voting machines are the exact same machines that Venezuela uses to vote in their elections. So crazy, really. The same exact elections that have been proven to be rigged, like we talked about the Nobel Peace Prize winner who won her election in Venezuela but was politically persecuted by the clown that we just took out of office to have him go and face criminal charges in an American court system in front of the entire world, as FOFA, ever on to find out, and as an example to the rest of the world. We really don't care what you think. This is sovereign United States of America. We don't care about the UN. We don't believe in any of your so-called international law. This guy is not the president, by the way. He hasn't been accepted as president. He was never the president. He came in on a hook. He was always a drug cartel leader, stole the rightful president from the place, and ignored the last election. Ignored the last election that he lost and was replaced by, and chased her out of the country, and by the way, is not recognized and hasn't been recognized as president by most countries in Europe and the UN and throughout the planet. So, this guy actually used, get this, ironically enough, I know it's really hard for the Democrats to swallow this pill, but did you know that he used Dominion voting machines to rig the election in Venezuela against the Nobel Peace Prize winner? Did you know that? The Dominion voting machines come from Venezuela. So it's an interesting dichotomy because I wasn't even thinking about this, but Alex Jones was floating this around a little bit, and I'm looking at it and I'm saying, actually, that actually kind of makes some kind of sense. That now, on the precusp of Donald Trump talking about all this evidence that he's going to come out with, he said he's got truckloads of evidence, he's going to come out and show the world that the election really was stolen, it really was rigged in 2020. Mike Lindell was talking about that as well, so they got truckloads, and they expect it all to be released. Mike Lindell specifically said that he believes that Trump will release all that evidence sometime around mid-February of 2026, right? And now you've just taken over Venezuela, which means that Donald Trump and the United States military has access to all the Dominion voting machines and logs of all the elections for Venezuela since Dominion voting machines were a thing. You realize that's what that means now. So now, basically, he has the ability to go in and grab all their Dominion voting machines, which did rig the election. This is a proven fact. Such a proven fact that even the liberals and Democrats who hate Donald Trump, despise him, gave a Nobel Peace Prize to the woman who actively worked against a proven rigged election in Venezuela. Proven rigged election. She proved it. She's the rightful president through Dominion voting machines, right? So now we have the access to all those Dominion voting machines in Venezuela. You could probably reverse engineer all of them and figure out if there was some kind of, I don't know, a bug or a virus or some sort of AI reprogramming inside of the system to try and switch votes in the middle of the night. How might that look? How would something like that might actually work, right? Interestingly enough, on top of all of that, you have the panel for Fulton County, Georgia, coming out now and saying that, oh yeah, by the way, there was 315,000 illegally registered votes in Georgia in 2020 that we counted anyways, even though we weren't supposed to. They didn't deny it. They confirmed. The official board said, yep, that's right. There was 315,000 fraudulent votes. They just said that. Why is nobody talking about it? Because they don't want to talk about it. Essentially, in Georgia, the vote margin supposedly was like 10, 15,000 votes. If you just look at the numbers, so stupid, bro. When we caught them on videotape, you remember we caught them on videotape? You remember those videos were all over the news. They're on YouTube. They're so common sense. There's no smoking gun. There's no proof. Oh, well, we just have videos that are so open to the public that they're on YouTube. There's no smoking gun whatsoever. You're out of your mind, son. No, it's a bunch of fools and cowards who openly reject evidence right in front of their face. Okay? We had these people, and they come in, and they turn off all the lights. You remember how it went, and they said, oh, there's some kind of problem with the plumbing or blah, 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 or whatever it is, and everybody's got to leave. We're not counting votes anymore. All caught on camera. You can go on YouTube and watch the video with your own eyes. They leave. Then they come back a couple hours later and turn on the lights back on, which is illegal because you can't count votes unless you have one Republican and one Democrat present at all times for every single vote. Sent all the Republicans home. All the Democrats came back in. I guess the Republicans didn't know that there was this whole plan to keep counting through the middle of the night. The Democrats come back in. They turn on the lights. They restart up the voting machines. They go and they grab these big, giant suitcases that are underneath the desks, all caught on videotape. Pull these suitcases out, open them up. You can see the ballots inside of the cases when they open them up. Take the ballots out, shove them through the voting machines, and continue to count all night long, 8 hours long of videotape, counting over and over and over again. Oh yeah, by the way, pulling the ballot out of the backside and running it through a second time, pulling it out, running it through a third time, pulling it out, running it through a fourth time, all caught on camera. But there is no evidence. At that time, by the way, all of those ballots were proven to be for Joe Biden. At that time, there was a 40,000 markup for Joe Biden votes in that exact same county in Georgia at the exact same time. That correlates directly with the video. By that alone, because the 10, 15,000 split, Donald Trump wins Georgia. Never mind. Add the 80,000 fraudulent votes that come through 15,000 people that were not registered that voted. And 1,800 people that were under the age of 18 that voted. And 1,500 convicted felons that voted. And so on and so forth. That's 85,000 fraudulent votes on top of that 40,000 spike. That's 100,000. And now, as if you didn't need any more evidence, the official county board for Fulton County, Georgia came out and said, oh yeah, by the way, we counted 315,000 fraudulent votes that we were supposed to count. And we don't not only not deny that, but we confirm that that is a fact. So basically, Donald Trump won. There's 315,000 Biden votes that he didn't get. So basically, the new numbers, what the actual numbers really look like, about 315 plus 85, which is what? About 400,000 plus another 60. So it's almost 500,000. Donald Trump won Georgia by 500,000 votes. Okay? Now, if an entire state has been rigged like that, I would say that's probably enough evidence to go and look at Wisconsin and Michigan and Pennsylvania and so on and so forth. Pennsylvania, with 82% of the voting already counted, you're up by 900,000 votes, a million votes, you're not coming back. It's over. Going for Trump. You're not coming back. When you have 132% of your population voting, something is not right. Okay? You're not coming back. So, while this is happening, we says, Dominion voting machines, now we take Venezuela. In Venezuela, they have those same Dominion voting machines that rigged the election for Maduro against the Nobel Peace Prize winner that was awarded by Democrats. Because we all agree that the election was actually rigged by Dominion voting machines. Now we have all the evidence for that. Reverse engineer it and see. Now, if I were just theoretically put some sort of AI virus dump in the middle of the machine to make it switch the vote, which, by the way, has already been proven, and we have a lot of evidence about that too. They've been talking about that ever since 2000 Florida recount with Bush and Al Gore. People testified before Congress proving that you have the technology to switch anything from a 49 to a 51 pretty easily. Saw the videos myself. Don't call me a liar. Just go back and watch the video. I mean, I don't know what to tell you. You don't got eyes. You don't got eyes. You don't got a brain. You don't got ears. You can't think. You can't watch it yourself. You're stupid or something. And so now that's possibly one motivation for everything that happened in Venezuela. People talking about that. That's interesting. I didn't really think about that. But now I do. Like, that makes a lot of sense, right? And that makes a lot of sense, really. Especially on the precusp of proving that the 2020 election was stolen. Also, on top of that, you have... It's just really interesting, right? And then, interestingly enough, you have Mum Dummy, the stupidest clown in the history of American politics, who, by the way, is a radical Islamic jihadist. And anyone who says otherwise is a fool. You have Mum Dummy, that's his name, the Muslim dummy, because never have once in my entire life have I ever pronounced this guy's name in any other way, shape, or form than Mum Dummy, and I will never pronounce his name in any way, shape, or form besides Mum Dummy, because that's exactly what he is, right? Now, the thing about Mummy Dummy, the thing about the Muslim dummy in NYC is, interestingly enough, Maduro, president of Venezuela, will be being tried, put on trial, I think sometime next week. It'll be televised to the whole world. We'll see him on trial because they had in shame and humiliation. Donald Trump said that he begged for mercy like a dog on his knees. So to add insult to injury and humiliation, they're going to videotape the whole thing and show the whole world. And just keep on talking and see what happens. Yeah. Now, the interesting thing about NYC Mummy Dummy is this. NYC Mummy Dummy, it's his jurisdiction as the mayor where this guy's going to be put on trial because it's the south side of New York. Interestingly enough. And now he's coming out saying, oh my God, I condemn this. I can't believe they arrested him. It should have been done, blah, 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 blah. After this clown has already talked about the fact, if Benjamin Netanyahu ever comes to New York, then I'm going to have him arrested. A mayor thinks that he can arrest the president of Israel, but is offended because the president of the United States thinks that he can arrest the president of a foreign country. Like, come on, what does this even mean? This doesn't even make sense. But then again, he's a dummy. He's a mummy dummy, so how would he know? Right? He's not that very bright. He's not very smart. The Red-Green Alliance, yeah, whatever that is. Okay, what's a communist? What's a communist Muslim? I'm not sure I've ever heard of one of those before. It sounds like a walking contradiction, honestly. But anyways, Mummy Dummy, the fool, had a secret meeting. Listen to this. And now he's talking about, well, I don't even know that we should look at this. We shouldn't even. And he's demanding for the release of Maduro. Like, come on, you gotta be kidding me, man. These people are so stupid. What are you talking about? What are you even saying right now? You really think that that's gonna happen, right? That's really what you believe, huh? Stupid people. He has now had a secret meeting with the governor, with the president of Colombia. He had a secret meeting with Gustavo. Why is Mum Dummy having secret meetings with Gustavo? And okay, hold on. Let me show you. Let me show you this. Okay, let me show you. Hold on a second. Laura Loomer. Do you know who Laura Loomer is? Laura Loomer was just talking about this. She's pretty cool. I like Laura Loomer. The reason I like her is because she called Major Taylor Greene like literally years before everybody else did. Really interesting stuff, honestly. And she's Jewish too. Look at this. Look at this. You know, so she faces all that anti-Semitism. It's crazy. Okay, look at this. Laura Loomer. She just put this up on Twitter, right? And I find this very interesting, right? Well, she had put this up on Twitter back November 17th, 2025. Mum Dummy had a secret meeting with the president of Colombia. So why is Zofran Mum Dummy having a secret meeting with the communist narco-terrorist president of Colombia should disqualify him from getting a U.S. security clearance? In the most concerning instance of the Red-Green Alliance yet, NYC's communist jihadi mayor, Zoran Mumdumi, has cozied up to Colombia's far-left president, Gustavo Petro. Petro, who was recently sanctioned by the United States for narco-trafficking, celebrating the election of Mumdumi as mayor of New York City, of course. Sharing pictures of his September meeting with Mumdumi in New York City, of course. Petro, who had his U.S. visa revoked for encouraging a coup of the U.S. military, urging them to disobey the commander-in-chief, President Donald Trump, and that he hopes to see New York again someday. Gustavo Petro is Colombia's first leftist president and a proud former member of the Marxist M19 or M19 terrorist guerrilla group. In recent months, Petro has adopted an increasingly antagonistic stance toward the United States and President Donald Trump, issuing increasingly unhinged accusations. He has accused Trump of murdering drug traffickers, called for Trump's arrest and removal. Ironically enough, Maduro, president of Venezuela, will be the one that gets arrested and removed, right? And claimed that Republicans are all complicit in Epstein's crimes. Colombia just stopped sharing intelligence with the United States, citing their disagreement with the Pentagon strikes on narco-terrorist boats off the coast of Venezuela. Colombian hypocrite-in-chief Petro is criticizing the United States while actively encouraging political violence against his opponents. One of the main challenges in the upcoming presidential race, Senator Miguel Urbay Turbay, was assassinated with a bullet to the head after Petro encouraged violence against him earlier this year. Why is the mayor of America's largest city emboldening foreign narco-terrorists like Petro? Mumdumi will soon get a U.S. federal government security clearance under the FBI, state and local law enforcement, and elected official security clearance initiative, which he shouldn't. The program grants clearances to non-federal elected officials like the mayor to enable intelligence sharing on matters such as terrorism through the Joint Terrorism Task Force. I was actually going to say something there, but I won't because it's kind of like classified information, actually. A jihadi communist is about to get classified briefings about his friends. Al Jazeera and the Qataris are about to get their best source in the history of sources. President Trump and the FBI should absolutely not give Mumdumi a security clearance. He openly campaigned with Islamic jihadists and World Trade Center bombing suspects and pals around with the Soros family, which has been accused by President Trump of funding political violence in America. And now Mum Dummy is collaborating with and holding secret meetings with communist leaders of foreign nations who encourage the assassination of their political opponents and want a military coup in the United States of America. Like, come on now. Interestingly enough, and then she put this tweet up. She put this tweet up yesterday, which is showing that interview with Donald Trump I was talking about. Tonight on Air Force One, President Trump was asked about Colombian President Gustavo Petro facilitating narco-terrorism. Colombia, and this Trump quote-unquote said, Colombia is very sick too, run by a sick man who likes making cocaine and selling it to the United States, and he's not going to be doing it very long. Trump was also asked if the U.S. military would go after Petro the same way they went after Maduro, and Trump said, sounds good to me. Just a reminder that Mum Dummy recently held a private and secret meeting with Gustavo Petro in New York City where he expressed support for the Colombian gangster wannabe, maybe is what I would actually call him. This is all the evidence you need to deny Mum Dummy a security clearance. In addition to being a Muslim communist, of course, FBI Director Kash Patel needs to deny his security clearance. Mum Dummy is trying to get a security clearance. Trump needs to see these pictures of Mum Dummy with Petro. The Muslim communist is playing with fire. That's exactly what it is. And that's exactly what it is. Interestingly enough, you wonder too, because they're charging Maduro in the south side of New York City, which comes under Mum Dummy's. It comes under Mum Dummy's jurisdiction. You almost wonder a couple of things, right? You almost wonder if, one, that Donald Trump did that on purpose because he's trying to tell Mum Dummy, I want you to go ahead and look at him for a minute. I want you to go ahead and stare at that guy for a minute and really think and look at me. Look at me in my eyes, Mum Dummy, and tell me that you're an untouchable human being. I want you to look me in my eyes, Mayor of New York City. We went all the way down to South Latin America in Venezuela and marched into a foreign country, a foreign territory. In the middle of the night, we went into his palace in his capital city. And before he could get to his panic room, we killed all his men, put zip ties around his wrists, and ripped him out, dragging him out, kicking and screaming, threw him onto a boat, and shipped him right here to the United States of America. And now he's being held in a federal prison, and we're going to try him in front of the entire world for crimes against our nation. Now, I want you to look me in my eyes, New York City, Mum Dummy, and think if I was willing to do that to a foreign president who is hiding safely in a palace in another country, what really makes you think or believe that I will not have the ability to walk into New York City and drag you out and do exactly the same to you? That's what it sounds like, right? They're saying to Mum Dummy, you're the one that talked about arresting foreign nationals if they came to the United States. Aren't you, Mum Dummy? You're the one that said that if Bibi Netanyahu, the Prime Minister of Israel, came to New York City to go to the UN, which, by the way, is international property and is not American soil, that if he came to New York City, that you would arrest him. You would have him arrested. And you're a mayor. So what I did was I, the President of the United States, and Bibi Netanyahu laughed in your face over that, obviously, could not get over the fact that this Muslim clown, this fool, was stupid enough to actually think that he could arrest me. But now I've actually, as President of the United States, actually arrested a member of a foreign nation, the president, quote unquote, of a foreign nation. And now I'm bringing him right down to the south side of New York, Mum Dummy, because I want him to be held in a cell right there in NYC with you, Mum Dummy, to let you know that if you don't get your ass out of your backside, quite literally, right? Because he's a Democrat, he's a member of the ass party. If you don't get your ass out of your backside, I'm gonna do the exact same thing to you. If you are not, if you want to continue to play games, and you want to be this stubborn mule of a creature, you want to be this ass, then I'm gonna have to do the same exact thing to you, because if I would go grab him, what makes you think that you're any safer than he is, right? What makes you think that? In fact, actually, Mum Dummy, we know you had secret meetings with the Colombian narco-terrorist who did threats against the United States of America. I would hate to find out that you had any kind of political or economical or narco ties to the president of Colombia or Venezuela, right? I would hate to find that out, because we know that they do that with U.S. politicians all the time. In fact, Maduro was caught on tape saying that he was going to try to make a quote-unquote drug deal with Donald Trump so that Donald Trump would leave him alone before he got shammed and arrested in the middle of the night like the clown that he is. So I would hate to find out, Mum Dummy, that there's secret ties between you and these people. I'd hate to find that out, you jihadists. And then maybe we have to arrest you in the middle of the night and throw you in a prison cell and wait to put you on trial and arrest you as well, right? So really, it's kind of a warning shot towards Mum Dummy. Ironically, that's exactly what it is. It's a big in-your-face. You want to talk about arresting foreign nationals? I'll show you how to arrest foreign nationals, by the way. And I can show you how to arrest New York mayors if I feel like it, too. Also, you've already got connections to the Colombian and Venezuelan president. Would it be that hard? It's not much of a skip, rock, a step, and a throw to connect you to narco-terrorism throughout the world and just go ahead and put you on trial as well, right? On top of that, also, it's almost like attempting, it's almost like daring Mum Dummy to go ahead and do something about it. It's almost like, I'm going to put him inside of your cell and hope and pray that your dumb, clowny self will actually do something to interfere with that legal process with Maduro. I hope to God you do it. It's almost like it's almost like tempting Mum Dummy. Just go ahead and do it. It's like, put it right in front of his face. Go ahead and do it. Do something to interfere with that arrest and trial that's going on right now. I dare you. Because the minute that you do, I'm walking right into New York City, and I'm putting your hands in zip ties, and I'm dragging your ass off into prison as well, like the fool that you are. That's almost like what Trump is doing, right? Like, essentially. Like, it almost feels that way. Like, it's like, hey, Mum Dummy, I dare you. I dare you. Just try to release him. Just try to sneak anything into him. Just try to help him have hidden messages to the outside world. Just try to interfere with the trial. Just try to do it. And if I find one sliver of you in connection, because we already have you in connection to these people before they were arrested, if I find one sliver of you helping or abetting, enabling or abetting in any way, shape, or form a narco-terrorist, I will throw you in prison for the rest of your life. And that's almost what it feels like, right? That's what it feels like that Trump is saying to Mum Dummy, playing 4D political politics. Oh yeah, I'll have a meeting with you, Mum Dummy. I'll sit here and talk to you and act like you're stupid and I'm stupid and everybody's stupid and everything's so great. But by the way, you like my trophy? I just got him from Venezuela. Probably wouldn't be that hard to get a mayor to go to prison for the rest of their life either, yeah? Especially if they were dumb enough to, like, interfere with an official election process of the government of the United States against the president's direct orders, right? Bunch of idiots. This mum dummy. Throw your ass in prison as well. Quite literally. Donkey boy. Party of the jackass. I'll throw your ass in prison. So it's really interesting. So there's a lot more going on there too, not just what's happened. And thank God for the Venezuelan people being set free, and we love all that. And thank God, like the Venezuelan guy that was talking about, I don't know if you've seen that video or not, put that video up where he's talking about how for years his whole family was destroyed. They lost all his money, and millions of people throughout Venezuela all the same. Thank God Maduro's gone. We said he would go. He's gone. Ha ha. Laugh in your face. Thank God Venezuela's no longer a threat. That's one less problem in our own hemisphere that we have to worry about, okay? China, Russia, these people, they should not have power. They should not have any influence on this side of the world, okay? That's why China, get your hands off the Panama Canal. You did as you got told, that's right. No Panama Canal for you. Venezuela, not yours. Sucks for you. Just like Cuba, just like they tried to do back in the Cuban Missile Crisis. Nope. You're not going to have these foreign powers on our doorstep, okay? It's not going to happen. China, Russia, Middle East, get out of Latin America. And now you're out now. You're out of Venezuela. Soon you'll be out of Colombia. You'll be out of Cuba. And by the way, you'll also be out of Brazil. Because you rigged an election in Brazil too. And there's a whole other thing there too, isn't there? There's a whole other thing there too, isn't there? Brazil, top 5 economy of the world. You know, yeah, you're going to get out of our hemisphere, okay? We'll be in your hemisphere all we want to, because we're the United States of America. We do whatever we want. You won't tell us to do otherwise. But we will tell you what to do otherwise, okay? So that's how that's going to work. We know you rigged the election in Brazil as well. We know that there was a Trump in Brazil that wanted to make Brazil great again. He was a Brazilian nationalist. And then at the exact same time, in 2020, his election was rigged as well, even though all his people swore that it was. It was like a one-to-one copy of exactly what happened here. Supporters went and marched on the Capitol in Brazil, just like they did here, except the difference is that they were mowed down and shot to death in the streets by tanks and machine guns. And by the way, that almost happened here and would have happened here if it was for Nancy Pelosi, because Nancy Pelosi actually requested them to have Abrams tanks and machine guns in the Capitol that day. She requested that security clearance from Kash Patel for them to have it there that day. Kash Patel denied it because he said it does not make any sense for us to have tanks and machine guns running down the streets of Washington, D.C. And why did she want them there? Because she purposefully wanted there to be, they wanted January 6th to be 10 times bigger than it was, and they wanted there to be an interaction between those people in the military, and they wanted to mow them in the streets as an example for not coming up against them. I guarantee you that that is exactly what Nancy Pelosi and the Democrat Party had on their mind. I guarantee you that that's what they had on their mind. And the proof is, Brazil, that is exactly what happened. In Brazil, they did have the tanks and the 50 cows, and they mowed those people down in the streets like a communist country. And then they said, oh, well, you know, it's their fault. They tried to do an insurrection. No, they didn't do no insurrection. And the Chinese guy won, just like here, because it's a globalistic new world order. It's a one-to-one copy in every country you go into, yeah? But sucks for them. Trump is back. January 6th got pardoned. There's no military coup. But we got to go to Brazil. We got to reverse that nonsense. Okay, we're doing it in Venezuela. Good. Colombia, you're next. Cuba, you're next. Iran, you're next. Okay? We got rid of Justin Trudeau. Where's he at? Anybody know where he's at? Nobody knows where he's at. He's partying with Katy Perry. Why? Because you're gone. Okay? Because we're not going to put up with it. You're not going to have these foreign affairs, these foreign agents trying to knock on our doorstep in our hemisphere. It's not going to happen, okay? And by the way, because we're America the Great, once again, welcome to MAGA. So we're making America great again. Well, guess what we did? We just did the most executed, flawless military victory in the history of the entire world. The most prominent version and proof of sovereignty of any nation in the entire world over any other country, and have proved to the entire world that whenever we feel like doing whatever we feel like doing, we can and we will do it. So you better not. You're going to F around, and you're going to find out, buddy. Okay, we're not afraid of you. We're not afraid of nobody. Okay, but you are afraid of us, and I guess we reminded you the reason why that you're afraid of us. Okay. And that's what it really is. So it's interesting. Venezuelan Dominion voting machines, which, by the way, rigged the election in Venezuela. Now we got all that evidence and data because we just took over Venezuela. By the way, a Republican also bought out the Dominion voting machines not too long ago, a few months ago, I think. So they can't rig those anymore. Now the Democrats say the Dominion voting machines are going to try to rig the elections for Trump. What in hell are you talking about? You rig the elections. Oh, what they really mean is, oh no, now we can't rig the elections anymore. No. So Jasmine Crockett, she's a complete fool. And then there's so much, right? There's just so much. So we got the Venezuelan voting machines. That's the good news. The Dominion voting machines, we're going to release all the evidence that proves that the election was stolen. The Georgia Commission already said Georgia was stolen. We're going to prove the rest of them were stolen. The whole 2020 election is going to get reversed. If that happens, which not if, it will happen, and when it does, it sets completely up the possibility for Donald Trump to run for a third term. And people will say, what do you mean? You can't run for a third term. It's unprecedented. You know what's unprecedented? Stealing an election. That's unprecedented. Okay? So, yeah, if you stole an election, a presidential election, that's already been won, so I've actually won 3 times, I'm pretty sure that the precedence for a third term will supersede, right? I'm pretty sure that the precedence, and there has been third terms, by the way, but there's never been a stolen election before. I'm sure the unprecedentedness of a stolen election will be superseded by the precedence of a third term, right? That's the way it's got to go. In other news, just to wrap the whole thing up, we got all the election evidence among dummies being tempted to try and interfere so that we could arrest him. Ironically, as a ploy, showing him you think you're going to touch a foreign national. Well, we'll do it right in front of your face. You won't do anything about it. Showing to the whole world, F around and find out. That's a warning not just to Colombia, not just to Cuba, not just to Iran, but it's a warning to Vladimir Putin. You can't do this with Zelensky. So our military must be way better than yours, right? It's a warning to China. How come you haven't done it to Taiwan yet? Because you can't. But we can, though. It's a warning to the whole world. We are not Joe Biden, okay? This is not the Afghani. This is not the American Afghani blunder of Joe Biden, the court jester and clown, okay? This is America the Great, America the Beautiful. This is the America that you always knew we were, and the reason why none of you wanted to mess with us, because you were all scared. Maybe in the middle of the night we come into your country and we kidnap your leader, and you do whatever you get told, right? Now we're back to that America. So welcome. We're not George Bush. We don't waste 20 years in a foreign country getting people killed all over the place just to finally catch somebody. No, that's not us, okay? We're the United States of America, superpower, right? We're just going to come in the middle of the night and just take you out, and that's it, okay? It's over with, okay? So F around and find out. Yeah. We are the golden age of America. We are the Department of War. We are the #1 superpower in the world that has ever existed, and today is just as powerful economically, militarily, and politically as we have ever been in the history of the United States of America, in the history of the world. Praise God, hallelujah. And that's really about it, isn't it?